Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. So, Khanna, who has come on Status Coup before, which I appreciate, is one of the few in Congress that is classified as a progressive that at least comes on independent media. He is teaming up with Congressman Jamie Raskin on a new brilliant idea to stop the tidal wave and the Republican onslaught that is almost surely coming in the midterms from happening, and to save the majority in the House and Senate for Democrats. When I say brilliant, I mean horrendous. Let's take a look. This is from NPR. Two Democrat progressives plot new ways to fight back against Republican gains. Republicans are threatening to take over the House of Representatives in this year's midterm elections. More than 30 House Democrats are heading for the exits, and progressives have seen several major legislative proposals stall out. But two progressive lawmakers in the House, Democrats Jamie Raskin and Ro Khanna, say they're developing a plan to turn around the cascade of bad news for their caucus. Raskin of Maryland and Khanna of California tell NPR they're on the ground floor of talks to fuel new victories for the party's liberal wing. Quote, "We need to defend American constitutional democracy with everything we've got at this point," Raskin said from his office in the Rayburn House office, seated next to Khanna. And that calls upon us to be as ambitious as we can be in terms of reaching out to people all over America. Raskin and Khanna are trying to shake up discussions for the Progressive Caucus. Yeah, that same caucus that just endorsed corporatist hack Shontel Brown over Nina Turner, and the Democrats ahead of the midterms, and map out a new winning strategy beyond. They say this includes coalition building, sharing a more optimistic message with voters, and less preaching. Democrats should also reclaim issues of patriotism, stay out of the political correctness business, and improve their dialogue on racial divisions, they said. Khanna warns if the GOP does indeed take over the House next year, President Biden will be impeached and certain Democrats will be forced off committees. But Khanna is trying to stay optimistic they could defy the political handicappers. Quote, I think the polling is in a vacuum because elections are a choice, Khanna said, and I don't think people fully have grasped the choice of what it means for the Republicans to actually win the House. Khanna also warned that the party's more extreme wings, such as Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, Lauren Boebert of Colorado, and Madison Cawthorn of North Carolina, dominate the GOP's voice. As a result, Khanna says Democrats need to ramp up their reminders to voters that despite slim margins in the House and Senate, they did pass into law the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure plan and the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. Quote, do I wish we could have gotten a little more done? A little more. Yes, Khanna said. But he argues, quote, on the other side is a destruction of democracy. I think we have a fighting chance to defy the odds. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I don't even know where to start. And by the way, if you missed it, a couple weeks ago, Bernie Sanders linked people, leaked to Political that they were eyeing Ro Khanna as the possible successor to Bernie Sanders to possibly run in 2024. Khanna shot that down, saying he would not be running for president in 2024, but that was floated by so-called the Bernie wing of the Democratic Party and people close to Bernie. Obviously, a couple weeks later, they then changed course, I guess, and floated that Bernie might run in 2024. But let's address Khanna. And again, to be fair, he has come on the show more so than anyone else, because I have requested others in the squad to come on the show. I don't know if Ro Khanna, I don't know if he's had too many brunches with Nancy Pelosi and other more establishment corporate Democrats. I don't know if he has, met with working class people enough. Working class people who were screwed by the 2008 financial crash, the whole narrative that, oh, we came back. Well, I talk to people all the time who never came back from the 2008, 2009 financial crash. Then we're further screwed during the pandemic. And now adding on top of it, the price gouging being dressed up as inflation. Their top priority, I'm sorry to tell you, is not saving democracy, because in their day-to-day reality, we don't have a democracy. We have an oligarchy. upper middle class kind of suburban people, they who watch MSNBC and CNN quite often, read the New York Times, they're very, very comfortable for the most part. So they could have the privilege and luxury of being concerned about democracy. People economically being screwed right now, working 2 jobs, possibly 3, making choices between medicine, groceries, the electric bill, etc. Their top issue is not saving democracy. And Ro Khanna seems to be borrowing from like the time-tested bullshit narrative that no, the Democratic Party's issue is not actually the fact that they're not actually giving any actual structural change, economic policy. The issue is they're bad at messaging. Oh, no, Obamacare was great. They just messaged it wrong, right? Bro, if you're listening, if you're watching, let me explain this to you. The American Rescue Plan was better than nothing. 1.9 trillion, should have been more, but at least that got through. There were good things in there. That was in the beginning of 2021. We're now almost halfway through 2022. You can't win elections based on a $1,400 check, unemployment for a few months, and a good kick in the ass. By the way, while evictions were still going on, despite the American Rescue Plan, which had a federal eviction moratorium. Well, I was on the ground in Pennsylvania, Kentucky, West Virginia, and I was talking to people that were evicted despite the moratorium because there was enough loopholes. There was more loopholes in that law than a roller coaster. So you actually think being more optimistic and waving the flag and being more patriotic, by the way, we live in the United Corporations of America, that's the ticket, and pointing out stuff that happened nearly a year and a half ago, or the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure deal that, by the way, was only $500 billion in new money. The rest of it was already allocated money that literally, if you ask most working class people, does not affect them whatsoever. I don't understand the thought process of this. They're either delusional or just really, really bad at politics. It's probably a mix of both. You are not going to challenge or put a dent in the rising Republican extremism elevated by the culture war, elevated by Fox News, elevated by Trump, MAGA, white supremacist groups, all of this into one toxic bowl by just sounding cheerier and being less preening and less condescending. No, people have been decimated over the last 40 years. The very areas that Democrats have been losing ground are the same areas that Democrats, with Republicans, sold people's jobs to China and Mexico. I'm all for people in China and Mexico having jobs, not at the expense of Americans. Now, it's truly dumbfounding that these are the progressive leaders. Maybe Khanna believes in Medicare for all and things we believe in, but he has no actual understanding of how to get there. It's not through this mealy mouth, oh, we got to message better and be more patriotic and have a more optimistic message. You need to challenge Biden to actually do things. You should have not buckled and voted for the bipartisan infrastructure deal that gave away the game to Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, and others that they didn't have to vote for the Build Back Better plan because you gave them exactly what they and their donors wanted. When I asked you during our interview, why aren't you guys, you, Privilege Ayapal, the squad, etc., why aren't you in West Virginia holding massive rallies on Joe Manchin's doorstep, shaming him and putting the pressure on him and calling out his corruption when there was still a chance to shame him into action on Build Back Better? He said, yeah, I don't really think that would affect Manchin too much. Well, it's better than the alternative, which was writing kind letters and negotiating with literally a coal baron who also is the chairman of the Senate Energy Committee, which should be illegal, but we live in the United Corporations of America. The very people that are not coming out to vote for Democrats, because make no mistake, Republicans will have their base come out, but the reason that the Democrats will lose is not because of Republican enthusiasm. It's because of depressed Democratic Party turnout, non-voters. The reason that they're not going to come out is not because they're so worried about patriotism and they're so worried about saving democracy. They don't actually feel we have a democracy. They feel, I don't want to speak for everybody, but people I talk to, they feel like we live in a new Gilded Age, basically an economic Hunger Games. and they see a lot of talk constantly from Democrats, a lot of talk about racist Republicans, Islamophobic Republicans, white supremacist Republicans, anti-Mexican Republicans, anti-democracy Republicans, and then they go to work their 2 jobs. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Honestly, I totally understand people's anger, cynicism at Roe, Pramila Jayapal, the squad. I totally understand people that say to hell with it. The Democratic Party is where ambition goes to die. I believe that we have to focus outside of electoral politics a lot more. That doesn't mean totally cancel electoral politics. Like I've been saying this week, actually right after this, I'm starting my drive to Cleveland. We're going to be covering Nina Turner's election this weekend, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Tuesday is election day. So definitely support us if you can. StatusCoup.com/join. Support our on the ground reporting. 7-hour drive for me to Cleveland. Trying not to fly. My wife's has some immunocompromised issues. So trying not to fly right now as cases go up and, nobody's wearing masks at the airport or on the flight. But StatusCoup.com/join to support our on the ground reporting. We will be live in Cleveland Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And you could sign up for our text list. So you get a text message when we're live because YouTube doesn't like to notify you when we're live. But to put a pin in this, if Ro Khanna actually thinks his time is spent more wisely teaming with Jamie Raskin, who is not exactly the most progressive, on coming up with a cheerier message about the Band-Aids we offered you and, explaining why Democrats are actually the real patriots rather than organizing rallies, organizing mass pressure, organizing economic threats and boycotts until Biden cancels all the student loan debt, until Biden takes executive action on climate, until Biden takes executive action on massive spikes in rent prices and housing prices, until Biden does something on healthcare. If you think your time and your chances to save the Democratic majority is better spent coming up with, a nice, easy bake oven message, I got a bridge to tell you. Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.